Hey folks, we're back. I'm your host BKP. We're downtown beautiful Blue Ridge, Georgia. Now if you're just joining us, this is a live show, so you could hear some background noise. We heard the train bell. So we're at Sycamore Crossing. Time for the All-Star Political Panel. Bruce and Jane are traveling. Glad to have Cindy with us. You've been here before.
A few times.
Okay. Cindy and Rick. Let's do this. Let's start out, Cindy. As our guest this morning, what would be your first subject? We're going to let you have. What would be the first subject you want to cover this morning?
That's a mistake.
Well, that's my
Kill
first
his mic.
Yeah, my first subject. We need to. There's so much going on this past week with the hurricane and everything else. That would probably be first. But my first subject this morning, and Dr. Whaley led into it with talking about Obama thinking we had 57 states. But I want to talk a little bit about Obama and how well he's done since he left the presidency.
Okay. I'm interested in this. Okay, how well? I'll buy. How well has he done?
How well has he done?
All right.
Okay.
Well, Barack Obama's net worth at this point is estimated at $40 million. $40 million.
And he didn't have.
Seems like it was
rub
just
together.
yesterday he was
Yeah.
handing out pamphlets on the street corner.
Right.
Exactly.
Trying
Well,
to figure
I-
out what credit card he could use to pay his way to get into the. Excuse me.
No, that's all right.
Pay
I
his
mean,
way to
okay,
get in.
yeah.
I've got kind of his history leading up
Go
to
ahead.
that.
Go ahead.
That type of thing. But here are the things that we need to know about Barack. $40 million. Part of that's due to $400,000 a year throughout his entire 8-year term. That's how much money he made each year,
Right.
which helped him move himself up a little bit. He charges $400,000 for public speaking. I saw it everywhere from $400,000 to $1.2 million to speak in public.
All right.
That's helped him along a little bit. He has now. By the way, he's cost taxpayers $1,176,000 per year to subsidize his living.
Mm-hmm.
That's to subsidize him, taxpayers. He has now amassed a $242.5 million post-White House fortune.
242 million.
$242 million is what he's amassed post-White House. Now, they say $40 million per year is his net worth. This is what he's amassed, what he's paid in taxes.
Okay. All right.
He does give $64,000 a year in to charities, 30 different charities.
What a guy.
We got to give him his due. Okay. He makes $205,700 a year in pensions. That's just what we, the American people, are paying him per year in his pension, which includes all of his health insurance and Secret Service for life.
So, what are you trying to say?
What I'm trying to say is...
where are you going with it? Where are you going with
Okay,
this?
before he was president, basically most of his money came from, he made $80,000 from the Illinois Senate,
Right.
and he made $32,000 from the University of Chicago.
The Illinois
Law School.
Senate, where he voted present.
Yes.
Present.
Yes.
right.
Go
And
ahead.
he made $32,000 from his University of Chicago Law School, where he lectured.
Right.
So he wasn't making quite close to $400,000 when he
They
was
could go to
president.
Olive Garden a couple times a month.
Yeah, they could do okay with
Yeah.
that. That was in
The pasta
2004.
bonjour.
Yeah,
There.
it was good enough for the money, right?
Exactly. Then in 2005, he wrote a book, The Audacity of Hope. And he made $1.9 million advance. He was advanced that much money. That same year, after speaking at the Democrat convention, he also earned $847,000 from another book. We'll all remember this book, The Dreams from My Father. And the dreams from his father actually helped him through that year between the advance and the royalties make $1,225,000. So now he's going into 2006. He's made $1 million, over $2 million, almost $3 million on book deals. So he's starting to roll. He's starting to pick up some money. Okay. Basically, in 2006, all his royalties came from his father's
Right,
the book
I
about
remember
his
that.
father. 2007, he earned almost 3.3 million from Random House book royalties, and almost 816,000 from Distel and Godrich for his book. So now he's up to $5-6 million. Now we wonder why Bernie Sanders is making so much money. Remember the
I got it.
socialist?
I
Yeah.
got it.
Books. Everybody write books. Let me tell you, it's a great thing to do. Then, when he was elected president, he owned somewhere between 1.1 million and 5.1 million in U.S. Treasury bills. So he's starting to invest in Treasury bills and so on and so forth. Okay, so and I've told you all
That
of
was
what
a
he's
signing
done.
bonus that he got when
Right.
the black
Exactly.
limo pulled up.
Okay, so Mr. 40 million, worth $40 million, now is, however, in a little bit of a, I don't know if we can call it a lawsuit. I guess it's a lawsuit. It's
Yeah.
a trademark dispute.
He filed a lawsuit.
He filed a lawsuit because he wanted to be called, he and Muchel wanted to get together and decide to do Netflix and
Right.
some productions and all of this, and they needed a trademark. They needed a name. So they decided to call it Higher Ground Productions. Higher Ground Productions. When they went to apply for a trademark, there is already a Higher Ground Enterprises that does a lot of charity work and so on and so forth.
They help people develop online books.
Okay.
Yeah.
That type of thing. Well, so the trademark company, whoever they are, whoever gives you a
US trademark.
trademark,
Yeah.
would not give a trademark to the Obamas because the names were too close. They said they had to change their name. Well, the Obamas decided that no, the other guy, even though he was first, he should change his name because Obama was the
And
president
they're
of the
suing
United
him
States.
on top of it to try to
So
get it.
Obama now is trying to sue Higher Ground Enterprises because they want the trademark under Higher Ground Production. So
These
there's an
people are-
attorney in California who has called them the most despicable couple known to man because that goes totally against everything they've always preached. So this is all about what our ex-president, what he's worth, what he makes, what he thinks of himself. Of course, as far as I'm concerned, he is the most narcissistic of all the presidents that have walked this earth, but that's just my opinion.
Let me give you one other example of how they have forced their way because of who they think they are. Muchel Obama has got a book out by the name of Becoming. It was #1 on the New York Times bestseller list. I don't know if you saw this or not, but New York Times bestseller list used to be something that you could trust. See who's really selling books.
Right. Exactly.
Judge Janine Pirro has a book out as well, and that book is Radicals, Resistance, and Revenge. It sold 17,000 more books than Muchel did the week of introduction, but they dropped her to third. There was another book that outsold her as well. They put that one at second. They did the same thing to Molly Hemingway when she came out with a book about Kavanaugh's trial. The New York Times is so in the tank for the liberal side. They even go as much as to say we're putting Muchel up there at the top because they are who they are.
Well, I get it. You know, in everything, I'm listening to everything that you're telling me this morning where the Obamas are concerned, and I want to pull one thing out of there. You brought up, and I don't know if a lot of people remember this, the Democratic convention when he spoke. Okay, and I will never forget. Okay, my dad calling me after that,
Right.
and he said, "You better pay attention to this young black man from Illinois." He said, "I just watched," and a lot of people don't remember that speech,
Oh, I do.
but that's where a lot of people picked up. We better pay attention to this guy.
That was his coming out party.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I remember that, and I'm glad you brought
My
that
sister
up.
did the same thing. She called me and she said, "Everybody's in a tizzy over this guy. You better watch out for him.
Better pay attention to him.
Yep.
Absolutely. I'll never forget it. Now,
One thing off of that, talking about the convention and the first black man, I also looked up all of his accomplishments, and his accomplishments on Google go anywhere from the top 10 to the top 200. Now, where he had 200 accomplishments, I obviously missed 190 of them. I don't know. But anyway, you know, his first accomplishment on every list seemed to be that he was the first African American president. So that's his first accomplishment. It's very interestingly, he's the first black president. He's the first African American president. Yes, we all know that. But how many people know that he had a white mother?
very few. Very
And
few.
her name was Anne Dunham. She was very accomplished in her own right.
How far are you in this book that you're writing? I mean,
Well, it's just-
you brought the footnotes, but how far are you in this thing that you're
Well,
writing?
it's amazing to
I
me.
live this at home, okay?
It's amazing to me, though, that everything that he ever touted, you know, from all of his racism with Trayvon Martin, with the, you know, Ferguson, everything else, and it was always, if you were on the black side of it, you were right, and the other guy was
Absolutely.
always wrong. The police were wrong. Everybody was wrong if they were white.
We've got to
But
have
we
a
were
beer
all-
summit.
We were all on the black side, including his buddy Eric Holder, who said the same thing. But he had a white mother. I mean, they went after the guy that supposedly killed Trayvon Martin because he was half Latino, half white.
Right.
And they called him, what was the name they called him? Something like a Spanish white or a Mexican white. They always put
Yeah.
it that way. But Obama had a white mother.
Well, wait a minute. Okay, so I got it. It's not. It is changing the subject, but I'm a little concerned because according to San Francisco, he's a terrorist, and I'm a little concerned to have
Me?
Yeah, you.
I know.
Yeah.
I'm a little concerned with you bringing, according to the San Francisco Council, bringing this terrorist NRA terrorist group.
I mean,
Right.
you talk about. How many people has the NRA killed since they've been in existence?
Never.
Huh? Zero?
Right.
Yeah. But then we've got the pro-abortionists who have since recorded time, which was 1970. They started recording abortion counts in 1970. How many do you think?
Oh, I had it up the other day. It's in the millions.
48 million.
Yeah, it's in the millions.
48 million dead from abortions. But we're making a big deal about the NRA, but we don't pay any attention to Planned Parenthood.
Well,
It's
we
just
gloss
amazing
over.
to
We
me.
gloss over, and I said this the other day. Okay, the recent shooting in Odessa, Texas. Okay, so supposedly the guy got the gun from somebody that manufactured it or something. I don't know the details yet on that. But what I'm saying is, we have these politicians tell us that it's all about your kids and grandkids' safety and stopping mass murders. And the reality is, it's just two prongs, and that's it. Control the people, and second, rake in the money that they're not getting. Okay, so if you're at home and you're making bullets, you got to press down in the basement. No, seriously, I mean, I'm not saying. I mean, I'm just saying, but you got to press down in the basement. You're making them, and you got three neighbors that, you know, guys you've known or ladies for 30 years, and you're a manufacturer to them, and they're losing money on you because you should be licensed, which they should be getting that $125 a year. Then you should be charging taxes that they're. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah,
And people are not picking up. There's that side.
Right. In the state of Georgia, for instance, and it's a legal term, when you sell if I sell you my car, okay, it's referred to as a casual sale.
Absolutely.
And there's no such thing as an attached sales tax to it. The same thing was going on in the firearm industry. If I buy a gun from Josh, it is called a casual sale. What the government is trying to do is they're trying to regulate the ability of Josh to sell a piece of personal property of his to me.
Right.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Those are what they call the loopholes. Okay, so I mean, there might be some validity to that, but they always come back to, well, what about me handing my guns down to my son? How can I can't even will my guns to my son.
Absolutely.
I can't give my son a gun under these new proposed regulations.
Well, the other thing that gets me is, okay, they want to do, they talk red flag laws, and then they want to, the mentally ill. And so let me ask you this. I firmly believe that what they will do is they will set a test. Okay, now it's just like when we go for our driver's license. Okay, we're going to check our eyes. We do the eye test and everything like that. I guarantee you, they want to end up, and people think I'm being extreme on this, they want to end up with you, a card-carrying, sane person. Okay, yes, I'm sane. I got a card that says
right.
It. Okay, now how often do you have to go back for your psychological examination, right?
Right.
To see if you've lost it. Is it going to be card going to be good for 4 years and you got to go back, pay another $150, get you understand what I'm saying?
And who gets to determine
to determine that?
Yeah. It is just such lunacy when they say, like de Blasio last night, saying that we need to eliminate the assault type rifles. And that's going to cure the mass shootings that we've experienced.
And the knifings and the people being run over by vans and bombs.
Are we going to stop selling auto parts now, just like we can't sell bullets?
I will tell you this.
Because cars kill people?
I will tell you this. I told people on the show this past week, look, I'm not shocked that corporate America with Walmart is getting into the game, what I call with lawmakers, with the CEO of Walmart coming out and saying, hey, there's a lot of good bills on the floor that they won't do their part. We're going to do our part. I think it's all set up. That's just my opinion. I think it's all set up. And what do you think about Walmart coming out this past week? They won't sell certain ammo.
Yeah, they're jumping on the bandwagon with, it could hurt them. It hurt Dick's Sporting Goods when they decided they weren't going to sell guns. Dick's Sporting Goods had a major problem, but I saw one of the better, when you brought up red flag laws, on Twitter yesterday. There was a tweet from somebody after San Francisco, what's the group there that decided to call the NRA has now become a terrorist?
Right, the San Francisco Council
designated the
designated
NRA. Well,
terrorist organization.
This as a terrorist organization. They voted on it, designated this. And somebody sent out a tweet yesterday, and I thought it was very good, about the red flag laws. And they said, just remember, when you're thinking about red flag laws, that the people, like the San Francisco Council, will be able and be given the power to red flag you. If they can just vote on calling an entire organization like the NRA a terrorist group, it's going to be people like that are going to make the decisions to red flag you or the guy across the street.
I agree.
Or the guy down there.
It's not about saving people's lives. It's about government control.
Exactly.
And I don't understand why a sane person doesn't understand that. If we want to stop mass shootings, we've talked about this on the panel before. We have become, as a culture, desensitized to the value of a human life.
Period. I think that really encompasses the whole thing when you start.
I think it just captures.
Have you ever heard anyone actually talk about the cause of what causes and what has happened to our country morally? The decay of the family. I mean, when you start going down that road, they attack you. I mean,
Exactly.
They attack you now. They're all open about a law that has more control over you, but to start discussing. I mean, I'm for one. They start bringing out all these studies, but I'm for one. I just do not like these graphic video games.
I agree.
They're realistic, and I think our children, Hollywood. I mean, we like it. We go to the movies. Okay, so we like going to the movies. We love that surround sound. We love hearing the bombs go off.
I
It's
like the
neat.
cheers it goes.
You like, but realistically, if you go in the last 40 years from movies, kids that go in a movie, they're desensitized to all the killings. I mean, Hollywood will preach to us, and you can walk out of some of those movies and 60-some people got killed or something like that, and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But then they'll come out and preach to us about gun violence, unless they're making $100 million off the movie. You know what I mean?
Exactly. I mean, the gaming industry out there, I don't have any problem with the gaming industry. It's become very popular, and but just think about when you're given more points to go back and make sure someone is dead in these games, and you get extra points to hammer this guy again. Again, you're just being desensitized to the value of life. That's why capital crime, I mean, that was the ultimate price that you would pay for doing something against another human being. The ultimate price that you'd pay was capital crime, or was capital punishment. You would lose your life.
I don't get you here very often, so let me ask you, are you concerned with lawmakers coming back to Washington, D.C., some of these bills getting on the floor and the president signing something? Are you concerned? All right, as a supporter of the president of the United States, what could he do that would upset you enough to say I'm finished with gun legislation?
With gun legislation.
With gun legislation.
I think, like I think most people do, I believe that the background checks seem to be the big. We've got to have these. We have background checks. They're in the law.
Right.
If people would follow the law, it's like border control. If we would follow the law, but the Democrats have become to the point where they don't want those laws. They want to make them new laws, but they're there. Just follow the old laws. If we could follow the old laws, this whole thing with guns and knives and bombs and cars, these are bad. These are evil people. These are people who are going to find a way to kill. If they can't do it with a gun, they'll find another way to kill. Unless we can do things and I agree with you, we need to improve the family. We need to improve mental health. We need to quit having bees around. And we need to quit showing some of these games but it's not even like they're regulated. Some of these kids are playing games that their parents have no idea what they're doing.
I agree with that.
We need to have families sitting down to dinner together. We need to have phones, iPods, computers put away at dinner time. We need to have a time where family talks. What happened today at school? How are things? How are your friends? Do you have friends? Do you not have friends? You don't have friends? Why don't you have friends? We need to be working with kids to give them a feeling of being good, being right. They don't need to be the best all the time. Sometimes you're going to win, sometimes you're going to lose, and you need to understand the difference. And I believe that's why people are killing. We've got people who are angry, people who are mentally deranged, people who are lonely, and a lot of that has to do with how our society has separated itself from each other. And until we do something with that, you can remove all the guns you want, you can remove all the knives, the cars, whatever. People will find a way to all of a sudden explode. And when some people who keep things bottled up inside because nobody ever asks them what they're thinking, what they want, let them cry, let them laugh, they're going to
there's a side too that these people, and not to go down a road that I don't have time to get deep into, but there's a side where these mass murderers, they're also turned into TV stars. They're sensationalized. They know as soon as they do something that even if they're shot, they know the next 2 weeks is going to be they're going to be on the front page or something like that. There's a little of that out there, I'll say that, but it's common sense. And when I say I don't want to waste my time, but Odessa, it's sad people are shot and killed, doesn't compare to Labor Day weekend in Chicago.
No, right.
And there's not a gun law. And when you and I say there's not a gun law on the floor, okay, of the House of Representatives now that the president can sign, or even a red flag law, or anything, even with mental illness, there's nothing they can do there that changes what happens this weekend in Chicago. Those are illegal guns. You got, I don't know why it's not sad. There's a 15-year-old kid that didn't go back to school this week because he was sitting on the front stoop in Chicago and a stray bullet killed him.
Exactly.
And
Right?
what do you hear when it's brought up about Chicago? Oh, well, it really isn't that bad. It's all attributed to gang violence. But
Okay.
it's still people killing people.
No, gang violence, our law enforcement, okay, if I'm 30-year law enforcement and I'm at year 27, and this is, please, I support law enforcement, but if I'm at year 27 and I'm working with one of these major cities and I got 3 years and everything's done, my pension, and I don't think I want to get involved. I'm not going through what is all the internal stuff and investigations into me, go to court because, I shot and chased a drug dealer to try to stop whatever.
Right.
I got 3 years to go, right? I'm not being negative and saying they don't do their job, but me personally, I would be like, and I think that's happening in the inner cities.
Well, there are a lot of, and the big cities, because they're not being supported very well.
That's
either
exactly right.
By
They
people
know-
who should be. When you're getting splashed with water and people are throwing things
You're
at
right.
you, and the heads turn their heads and say, they'll take care of those people that did it.
And you're
Like
taught in
de
the
Blasio.
police academy now.
Right.
Right.
That's just absolutely contra to everything that we've come to know and love about.
You're
law
doing a better
enforcement.
job at it than I am, because you're doing exactly what I'm trying to say. I'm not being negative to law enforcement, but right now, the way they get treated,
Exactly.
they try to enforce the law. If they're just trying to enforce the law, whatever they're doing, they could be the ones. They see the criminal go to jail on Monday, out on Tuesday afternoon, arrest them back on Wednesday. They do something, and next thing you know, Internal Affairs is calling them in and like, oh, you're only 2 years away from retirement. You're like,
Look at how the public sentiment has changed.
Exactly.
On the left against ICE. These guys, these ladies and gentlemen, are out there trying to do exactly what they're sworn to do.
Exactly. Uphold the law.
They take an oath to go out and do exactly what is written in the statutes, and they're just derided because of that.
Exactly.
I'd say maybe the last thing on the subject, I always say Chicago, but folks, if you would just take a minute and look at, look at Baltimore, look at Atlanta, start adding the death toll, New York City, Newark, South Bend, Indiana, regardless of where it's at across this country, there's not a single law, would you agree, on the floor of the House of Representatives. There's nothing that fixes that unless we just go in and stop these gangs and that violence. It's not going to stop that gun at all, will
No.
it?
No. And I know, you know that I have tweeted a few times in my life, but I was reading something that somebody had written in, and I said, well, I just wanted, this was after Beto had been making such a big deal
Oh,
about
Francis.
guns, and about
This is effed up.
Francis. This is, his
this
swearing
is
and
effed up,
everything
yeah.
else. But, and this woman said, he's standing up for this and he's standing up for that. And I said, what's he standing up for? And I said, here's my challenge to you. Go buy a handgun, lay it on the highest shelf in your house, and see how many times it jumps off that shelf and kills somebody.
We talked about that last week.
But
You got the
Beto,
laziest gun in
but
the.
Beto would tell you it's going to jump off that shelf and kill somebody. Beto, Francis.
All right.
I think we should call him
Co-
Francis and quit.
Yeah.
Quit doing the other, you're right.
A couple quick subjects. Do you, are you concerned about Sharpie Gate?
Sharpie Gates.
I was going to bring my 2 Sharpies today, one for
Oh.
Cindy and myself.
No, what? I don't even know what Sharpie
Oh
Gate
my
is.
goodness! Don Lemon and Cuomo have decided that because there was a Sharpie on the chart that President
Are you-
Trump was talking about when the hurricane was coming, and it said that the hurricane was going to go to Alabama, and then the next
I
thing they
remember
know,
the
30
No, they're
seconds
actually
later,
calling it Sharpie Gate.
They're calling it Sharpie Gate. Yeah. So
Yeah.
yesterday he's on the show.
Are you
and
not?
he's
Are you
got all
not
this-
concerned? Are you not concerned that maybe one of our official weather maps was altered to make it look like the hurricane was going on? I mean, is that not ruined your
Oh
day?
my
No.
goodness.
And-
Okay, I was just
and
checking.
it's
And they
irrelevant.
come up with.
They've gone nuts. They've
They-
done it again this morning.
Gone
Yeah.
nuts. Yeah.
They've gone
Yeah,
nuts
you
over
think?
this
You
daggone
think?
track of it. And the thing that's sad to me is, I watch CNN and I watch MSNBC and I watch the meteorologists, and it's like they're so disappointed that they don't have the devastation. They
Oh,
don't have.
absolutely. How sad is that?
Right, that they can't go find somebody that's buried under something that's still alive and says,
Well, they're going to find it in the Bahamas, I'm
Yes.
afraid.
well, yes,
That-
they are.
I'm telling you. And
No,
you
there's
brought
no
up
doubt
something
about
this
it.
morning, on the show, and maybe we want to touch on it. You talked about why we need to rebuild or help rebuild
Tell
the
'em.
Bahamas.
Now we're gonna get attacked that we didn't care about Puerto Rico, but I'm gonna tell you now, if we do not step in and rebuild the Bahamas, work with them, the Chinese are ready. Okay, the Chinese are ready to come in. You guarantee you, communications in our hemisphere here, communications, power grids.
That's their MO.
Right.
They've done it through Africa.
Exactly.
They've done it through
Thank
South
you.
America.
Thank you. Nobody's paying. Well, we
Nobody's
are.
paying attention to
Nobody's
it.
paying attention of the China. You talk. Okay, what did Obama hate? We were the colonization of the world, right?
Right.
They hated us. We're bad white people. We went and colonized the world, right?
That's what he said.
What's the difference of what China's doing all
Exactly.
over?
Exactly.
They
You
don't
look
pay
at every
attention.
one of these poor countries in Africa, and who is all of a sudden coming in there, and Huawei is putting all
Oh,
of
yeah.
the communication devices
Absolutely.
in. All of a sudden, it's now they've become a third world nation with cell phones. And why? Because the Chinese are in there taking over, and they're colonizing Africa. You're absolutely right.
Well, you can look at the Bahamas, and it would be nice if they rebuilt the Bahamas and then built them a couple extra islands to park some naval vessels like they did in the South China Sea, right?
Exactly. Yeah. Build a couple more
Right.
runways.
While Obama, you got your Obama list. While Obama was watching for 8 years, the Chinese went. We hear allies, allies, allies. We never talk about the Japanese, the South Koreans, Indonesia, Philippines, all those areas in the Pacific that are our allies. While Obama watched for 8 years, that administration watched for 8 years as the Chinese said, we're building some resort islands that they now park aircraft carriers next to, right?
Exactly.
And we have, now we're going to get heat.
That's a great point about the Bahamas, though, as to why we need to pay attention, because because of the colonization by the Chinese.
Well, they're so close. I mean, it's like
We got to.
they're close. It's a vacation destination for a lot of people in this country.
Nothing like having the
And a
Chi Coms,
humanitarian.
as Rush would say,
Exactly.
110 miles off the shore.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
What is it, 110 miles? So
Right.
nothing like having them off there. And we will get heat because we got a couple subjects, but the media is going nuts over the money that was taking out of the military budget to go to the border wall. They have listed 80 million from this senator's state and this and that. And also last week they went nuts with McElhaney, that's his name, right?
the border
Homeland Security,
Right.
Homeland Security.
Secretary, about the 144 million that's been pulled out of FEMA, right?
Right.
Like, are you sure you have enough money? We could have a disaster. They have been praying for a week
Well, that's why they were hoping
that there was a
that
disaster.
that FEMA thing came at the
And
same
that was the
time
under-
as
that was the
Dorian. That was the
underlying reason.
underlying.
and just
Exactly.
somebody on a camera somewhere said, we need money and we can't get the government to respond. Oh my God, we
Right.
knew this would happen.
Right.
But no one, Carl Rowe pointed out something the other day. In 1988, they passed the Stafford Act, which delineated the responsibility of the states versus the feds. The first line of defense when you have a national emergency is the state. The state needs to step in, take care of it. Then the federal government will come down and they will appropriate some money to support the state effort. But no one ever talks about that like it's If the feds don't get in there first, it's over again. Trump will be castigated.
Well, they
because he
started
did
out.
nothing.
We're almost out of
They
time.
started out with Trump, yeah.
Do you think Biden will be the nominee for the Democrats?
No.
Quickly. Why not? And I say it because I want to get a couple.
I just think he's showing his weaknesses are getting more and more exaggerated, and I think right now he's a safe bet because all the processes haven't started and everything like that. But he gets out there, and every time he gets out there, he digs his hole deeper. To me, his weaknesses.
But it doesn't seem like
are
anybody
bigger
cares,
and bigger.
because I will say this: if you will go to CNN and especially MSNBC after he digs a hole, they help try to line it
Right.
with gold to explain why he dug it.
Right,
Okay.
but
All right.
I don't think the people are
Do
buying
you think he's going to be the nominee?
No.
No.
Why not?
Because I don't think he wants to be the president.
He never did. They picked him up in the SUV. He knows where the bodies are buried.
Exactly,
And
and
he can return.
they need a deep state connection, and they're afraid that none of these people that are running against him really understand the deep state and how deep it goes and what they have to do to be in compliance with New World Order.
I don't think they can return to what they want as fast with any candidate other than Obama. Immediately they can get back. I don't know. The voters will say, we thought Hillary would be the nominee over Obama, okay? Bill Clinton did not win Iowa. I don't think. Did he win New Hampshire? Did he lose 2 in a row or something? But anyhow, that
Right.
being said, so we'll see. Okay, right now I think there's only one reason this 74-year-old guy is running for office is because he was told. I think it's smoke and mirrors when it comes out and Obama says, "You didn't have to do this, Joe." I think
Right.
it's all a lie.
Exactly.
I think it's smoke and mirrors. They're trying to get Obama back in.
You think he'll win Iowa, Biden?
I don't know. I do not know. I know the deep state trying to get him back in. Brexit, will it happen? Will Boris Johnson get it through? And is Brexit just playing out in front of us on what the difficulty it is on trying to drain a swamp, period? Do you think they'll get Brexit?
I do. I do.
mean, get out?
I think they will. Because there's such a groundswell of support by the people that voted to get out. They're
Right.
going to be the voice that makes this happen, because they're going to say, "We voted out. We won. Where is our?"
Okay, now wait a minute. I agree with you, but look across the pond here. You do realize, and I know that for our audience out there, Brexit happened before Trump even became president.
Right.
So look at how long. I know it was over a period of time to begin with, but look at how long what the people voted for they've been trying to make happen. And the EU is evil, man. They are straight up evil, and they won't let go. So when you stop and think about Trump and our country and what we voted for, it's tough.
But but that populist movement was already permeating Europe. I mean, there were different spots where a populist candidate like Trump, like Boris, came into office. It wasn't just all of a sudden Trump and then everybody followed suit. I mean, I think this is a worldwide phenomenon.
Quickly, do you have a 30-second explanation on why so many Republicans are retiring? What's your thing?
They say it's age.
No, not a lot of them are aging out. I disagree with that. I think they're afraid of exposure. I think there's something that's going to be coming down before this election, and I think if it's exposed, they don't want to be part of it. If Barr does his job,
Right.
I think there could be a lot of indictments.
Let me tell you what I'm concerned about. I'm concerned that I hear Trump 2020, and maybe it's just timing, but I don't hear enthusiasm and excitement about Republicans trying to take back the House. And that concerns me. I think every Republican that goes on TV should be talking about how we plan to take back the House, and I don't hear that. Do you?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, we got to get to our next segment, but we always thank you, first of all, Cindy, for coming in and being with us. You're always welcome here. winners and losers, air balls, whatever Bruce calls them. What do you have there?
All right. Where is mine? Oh, did I not bring it? I didn't bring it. Okay. My losers. Bernie Sanders and Kamala Harris are my losers this week.
Okay.
And I think it's pretty obvious why. Bernie, he's going to take care of climate change with population control.
I get it, man. I'm so glad you brought that. Yeah, Bernie.
Really? And he's saying this is okay. This multi-millionaire.
Go into poor countries.
Yeah, going into poor countries.
Whoa.
We're going to make sure these women don't want those children. They don't want to be having these children. We just need to take care of it. We, the big, powerful United States of America, is going to go in and tell these poor countries that
With our tax dollars.
with our tax dollars, that we need population control. This man's wacko. I mean, he's as wacko as they come at this point. Besides the fact, look at him. Do you really want him representing this country? He's like a nutcase when he talks. My second is Kamala Harris, who is now going to tell you, every one of you, what you can eat, why you can only eat these things, no plastic straws, no plastic bottles.
Plastic bottles are okay if a hurricane comes through.
Right.
Millions of them.
Okay. But, that type of thing. I mean, they're off the rails. And, I mean, off the rails
We'll
is
go
not...
with off the rails.
I was thinking last night, they now want to tell us who can have children, who can't. What kind of religion we can have, because they've disavowed Christianity. So they're telling you where you can and can't have a religion.
The government. When they get done, the younger generation, the government will be their
We
religion.
will bow down
Right.
to the government.
Right. All of this, and these are all 10 candidates, somewhere or another fitting into those molds. And I'm going, oh my gosh. I mean, what does this sound like? Sounds to me like communism, Nazism.
All right, you had two
lot of that.
losers.
My winner is the lady.
Slow down, Turbo.
My winner is the lady in the Bahamas that rescued 96 dogs, and she's taken them all into her home and on her property during this hurricane.
Till they could be,
Till they could find homes or go back to their owners.
Yeah.
Rick, what you got?
All right, what do you want first, my loser or my winner?
What direction you want to
All
go?
right, let's go with the winner first, because it's a good story.
It is.
Chicago Police Department celebrating how do I
School
put
opening.
this? Yeah, the school opening. There was a Chicago policeman by the name of Eduardo Marmoleo. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. Who was killed in the line of duty. He and his partner by a train. Their daughter went to school. His daughter went to school for the first time
In Chicago.
to Morgan Park Academy. Her name was Maddie, and the Chicago Police Department just happened to show up and escort her in.
They lined the entire walkway going into the school and clapped for her, and one of them walked her into her first time at this school. That was
And
a
my
great story.
loser,
Drum roll,
my
please.
loser of the week is Dianne Feinstein.
Oh, I love this story.
Dianne Feinstein. She absolutely perpetrated fraud by lying to Congress about prior knowledge about Christine Ballsy Ford,
Oh, yeah.
who has now
yeah.
come out
Yeah.
and has
Her attorney.
admitted that the whole thing about her act in trying to get an asterisk in front of Kavanaugh's name as a Supreme Court justice was all planned and rehearsed.
Every bit of
and Dianne Feinstein, however you want to say it, was the absolute
Catalyst.
inside
Yeah.
catalyst that made that whole thing happen. For her to lie to Congress and say, I didn't know anything about this till it was brought to me. That is absolutely
And it was all
hogwash.
about abortion.
Yeah,
They
there was a
wanted
day.
to
There
be-
was a
About
day.
abortion.
Right.
Lying under oath to Congress was something you didn't do.
Right.
Okay, folks, we have to go, but let me just say this quickly. CNN attempted to tell you that climate change is a crisis. Obviously, you're not as concerned as CNN because the ratings for their 7-hour marathon were in the tank. There was children's shows that beat the ratings of CNN, but CNN spent the other night with climate crisis in America, and all the Democrats showed up. And again, Bernie Sanders said, I'll tell you what, we got to have population control. And he put some things in place that he would do that I can't say anything else but kill certain groups. in order to make room for others. Okay, sorry, you got to just wrap your head around this. And another thing, I want to congratulate, and it's a winner/loser. I want to congratulate Casey Hunt from MSNBC. She is a liberal, very liberal, and I've watched Casey Hunt for years. But I love to watch Democrats celebrate a wanted pregnancy, okay? I love to watch that. And then when they want to switch to the unwanted and how much money Planned Parenthood. But if you are in a position like Casey Hunt and her husband, and you got everything planned out the way it should be, then we celebrate the birth of your new child. So congratulations. But the hypocrisy of the liberals that gather around and bring the balloons to celebrate a wanted pregnancy. I'm sorry. Congratulations on your new baby, Casey Hunt. North Georgia Senior Living with Jesse Barton, right after this message.